This lesson is over subtracting mixed numbers with renaming. I'm going to show you what this looks like, and you're going to have lots of time to practice in class, so don't worry if you're really confused on the steps. We'll practice it a lot together. So in these problems, I kind of talked about it before. We're going to run into a problem when we're subtracting, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So we're going to find our least common denominator, just like we've been doing. Most of you don't have to write this now because we've done it so many times and you have them memorized. But if you still need to write this out, go for it. Whatever helps you get that number, you're good. I'm seeing a lot of people write 1/8 times 1 times 1, write 1/8 again. Just leave it alone. A lot of you are making mistakes on your subtraction and addition, and it's because you're adding the wrong numbers or all squished up. Just make sure you're organizing your work. So we're going to make 3/4 into 8s. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. And this is where we run into a small problem because a lot of students say 1/8 minus 6/8 is 5/8. It's actually -5/8 if you take off these numbers. You can't do 1 minus 6 is 5 in this situation at all. So when we're subtracting and we have a larger number at the bottom, you guys know you have to borrow, which really I'm just writing the same number again, but when the smaller number's on the top, you borrow when you subtract. You kind of do the same thing here, except we have some extra steps here. So if I go to the 7-Eleven man and I ask him, can I have some change for $1? He's going to take your dollar and say, yeah, what do you need? You're going to ask for some fraction change. And fraction change looks like this. I give the guy at the counter $1, and whatever your denominator is what you need to ask for. So I'm going to ask this guy for 8/8 today. So your fraction change, you want to look at the denominator, and you're going to put the denominator on the top and the bottom because that equals 1 whole. We've got to switch it into fraction land. So 1/8 plus 8/8 is 9/8. Now I'm going to suggest that you guys circle what you're subtracting here, because when you're doing this many steps, a lot of kids will do 8 minus 3 here. You got to make sure you've added 1/8 plus 8/8. If you circle what you're subtracting, it'll help you keep from being that kid that grabs the wrong number. 9 minus 6 is 3. We have 3/8. Second biggest mistake is forgetting the whole numbers. You still have to do something with them. 3 minus 1 is 2. And I'm done. I'm going to go through just 3 more. This is going to be pretty short today because there's a lot of steps. So if I have 4 and 3/14 and 2 and let's do 6/7. I'm going to find my least common denominator of 7 and 14, which is 14 right off the bat. So I don't have to change 3/14, but I'm going to change 6/7 into 14. 7 times 2 is 14. 6 times 2 is 12. You cannot say that 3 minus 12 is 9/14. Please don't do that. It happens all the time. Don't be that kid. We're gonna have to go get some change, and I'm showing you a harder one first. These don't come up very often, but if you can do it with this one, you can do it with most of them that they throw at you. I'm gonna go to the guy. Remember, my guy at the counter who's nice, and I ask him for some change, and he says, yeah, what do you need change for? I give him $1, so I cross out the 4 and I make it a 3. My denominator is 14, so I'm going to ask him for 14/14. This is my fraction change. Now, when you write this, you actually have to add 3 and 14 and get 17/14. If you're confused, don't worry. This is the hardest part of the whole unit. You're going to get it. Circle the numbers you're actually subtracting, because a lot of kids subtract 14 minus 6 here. I don't know why. They get the right number here and then they grab this one. Circle what you're working with. 17 minus 12 is 5. I get 5/14, but this is not my final answer because I've still got to do 3 minus 2. I get 1 5/14. I'm going to roll through the next ones a little bit faster. Again, if you're confused, pause the video, write down the steps, go back and listen to this again. You're going to get it down. It just takes a little bit of practice. So I'm going to do 3 1/12 minus 1 3/4. My least common denominator of 4 and 12. 4, 8, 12. That's my winner. Leave him alone. Convert him into an equivalent fraction for 12ths. I cannot do 1 minus 9 is 8. Don't fall for it. When I see the smaller number on top, I'm going to go to the guy and I'm going to ask him for some fraction change. And he's a nice guy. And unless I ask him for 100 pennies, he's always going to give me the change I need. So I'm going to ask him for 12/12. And now I have 13/12. After I write this number, you should probably circle what you're subtracting, because adding and then subtracting seems to be the tricky part. So you're doing 13 minus 9, which is 4/12. And I forgot one step here because I was talking and not thinking. What did I forget to do to the 3? This is the second biggest mistake. I forgot to cross it out and make it a 2. I caught it at the end, but be super careful because I see this happen a whole lot. 2 minus 1 is 1, and I can't say I'm done yet because I've got an even and an even. 4 and 12 can be divided by 2, but they can be divided by 4 as well. 4 is the greatest common factor, and this is equal to 1 and 1/3 simplified. Make sure you always ask yourself, can I simplify? Because that is one of the biggest things you guys miss. Your answer choice, 1 4/12, isn't going to be there, and you'll just pick something with a 4 or a 12 in it. Don't do that. Look at it again and ask yourself, do I have evens? Can I cut it in half? How can I make it smaller and reduce it? You've got to reduce or simplify anytime it comes up. Okay, one more. So I'm going to do one that's really tricky. This one is what throws a lot of kids off, but I actually like it because it's really easy. This one is where a lot of kids get stuck. 7 minus 2 3/5. A lot of you will think of, what do I do when I add them? Well, I just put the 3/5 right there. You can't do that because there's nothing here. I've got to put something here before I subtract 3/5. So I'm going to go to the guy again and ask him for some change. And I'm going to cross out the 7 this time since I forgot it in that last step. And I'm going to cross out the 7 and I'm going to ask him for some change for my 1. My denominator here is 5. I'm going to ask him for 5/5, and that's my fraction change. This one's actually easy because you don't have to add anything or think about it. Once you cross it out, put 5/5 here and roll. 5 minus 3 is 2. Your denominator always stays the same. 6 minus 2 is 4. And I am done. So we are going to practice this again. I'm going to teach it again in class. Don't freak out. This is the hardest one, but this is subtraction with renaming or regrouping. People call it different things, but basically you're borrowing and asking for fraction change.